Good, happy Monday evening, August 19, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. We have a lot of news to get to this evening, so let's get started. First up, Manchester PD locked down briefly after man enters lobby, waves gun, police say. Officers use stun gun on man, no one else injured. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Jess Moran.
Out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
Well, the incident took place around 10:15 this morning, right behind the glass doors that are right behind me here. Police say the man walked in, took a gun out of his bag, pointed it, and did not listen to officers' commands. Manchester police say 30-year-old Khalid Deeby told the clerk sitting behind bulletproof glass he wanted to report a stolen gun. They say he then pointed the gun at himself and then in no particular direction. Police say there were a few people in the lobby at the time, but they left quickly and no one was injured. And police say the entire incident lasted only a few minutes.
The officers quickly responded. They gave him commands, told him to put down the gun, and he was not complying, so they ended up having to use their taser to calm the situation down. There had to be about 8 to 10 officers right in the lobby, and were able to get it under control, because in such a small area with people waiting, it could have been a really bad situation in there.
And DB is charged with criminal, threatening, reckless conduct, receiving stolen property, and preventative detention. In Manchester, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Where officers shot in line of duty thanks community for lifting him up. Officer Paul Lewis says he's looking forward to getting back to work. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
We get the job done right at a fair price. Call today to arrange a free estimate and to reserve a spot for your 2019 roof replacement. Century Roofing, we've got you covered.
There's a lot to admire about Officer Paul Lewis. He's staying very positive on his road to recovery, but perhaps most impressive is his desire to get back to work. His right arm is completely bandaged. The rookie cop shot twice while responding to a domestic violence situation earlier this month. He's had one surgery and has another scheduled in 2 weeks to repair nerve damage, with the hope that he'll fully recover early next year. The 28-year-old is passionate about his work. He studied mental health in college so that he could better help people as a police officer. His chief calls him a hero and an asset to the town of Ware. Lewis wants to thank everyone who's reached out to him, saying that's helped him every day.
I'm alive and that's all I care about.
Do you feel lucky?
I feel so lucky. I mean, 150 officers on average die a year from similar situations. I was fortunately able to make it out alive, and I want to use that opportunity, like I said a minute ago, to build myself in the field and stay a part of the family.
Officer Lewis hopes to be back on the streets patrolling in about 6 months, but in the meantime, his chief says he can come back whenever he wants and take care of some office work. Reporting live in Ware, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. State federal officials push back again against Trump's claims of New Hampshire voter fraud. Secretary of State says few dozen ballots among 750,000 cast investigated. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
For 10 years, New England homeowners have trusted Century Roofing. We get the job done right at a fair price. Call today to arrange a free estimate and to reserve a spot for your 2019 roof replacement. Century Roofing, we've got you covered.
Before traveling to the Granite State last week, President Trump riffed on one of his regular New Hampshire topics, the results of the 2016 election here, a contest he lost by about 3,000 votes out of almost 750,000 cast.
New Hampshire should have been won last time, except we had a lot of people come in at the last moment, which was a rather strange situation. Thousands and thousands of people coming in from locations unknown, but I knew where the location was.
In response, the chair of the Federal Elections Commission says the president should provide some evidence.
I think it is damaging to our democracy to spread information like that if there is no proof.
And to this date, there has been no proof uncovered of widespread coordinated voter fraud in New Hampshire.
There's no massive voter fraud.
Secretary of State Bill Gardner conducted an exhaustive investigation after 2016, and out of 750,000 ballots, found just a few dozen that had to be referred to the Attorney General's office.
The result of that showed clearly that it was not a massive problem, but it also showed that it was not non-existent.
Governor Chris Sununu responding today as well, telling News 9, quote, "I agree with Secretary of State Bill Gardner's assessment. As hosts of the First in the Nation primary, we must ensure our elections are beyond reproach. While there is no evidence to suggest widespread voter fraud, there have been a number of cases involving real voter fraud in New Hampshire, and through our newly established election law unit within the New Hampshire Department of Justice, these cases will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." In the studio, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video. And now let's take a look at that U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Monday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you. And your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green, went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the green, went up. S&P 500 closed in the green, went up. Gold closed in the red, went down. Oil closed in the red, went down. US 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in the green, went up. And VIX closed in the red and went down. Dow rallies more than 200 points as Wall Street continues a rebound from August sell-off. Stocks rose sharply on Monday as Treasury yields rebounded, following fears of a possible recession. Equalities also got a boost after the U.S. agreed to extend a temporary referendum to Chinese telecom giant Huawei. NYPD officer involved in Eric Gardner's death fired. More than 5 years after the death of Eric Gardner was captured on cell phone video, the officer responsible for causing his death was terminated from New York City's police department. And that does it for this Monday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye.